Welcome to the North American Ag Roundtable. This is our final demo and discussion for the week. And I'm here today with MetosUSA, and the topic is turning information into profits. And I'm on the line with Derek Brazda, and he's from Gretna, Nebraska. And Derek, welcome, and thank you so much for being part of this. And I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
So I am going to go ahead and get my my presentation up.
Mm-hmm.
So is seeing my screen here?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so well, hello everybody. My name is Derek Brazda, and I'm the Key Accounts Manager for a company called MetosUSA. Basically, kind of to kick things off here, we've got a couple of introduction videos that you can find on YouTube. So they're real short videos that our marketing team has kind of put together. So I'm gonna kick things off by just starting there. So. Oop. And now just a quick word from our CEO.
Derek, should there be sound for this one?
Yeah, are we not hearing the sound?
Nope.
Well, perhaps we could kick it over to the link that I had sent you.
Sure. It's the
Yep.
instruments, this one?
Yep.
Okay.
Technology to produce healthier food, to apply less chemicals.
I'm still seeing your email screen.
Oh. Here we go.
So to have a sustainable world for everybody, My name is Gottfried Pessl. I'm the CEO and founder of Pessl Instruments. Pessl Instruments is a smaller company based in Graz. We have developed products for Internet of Things in agriculture. The products are instruments which are placed in fields, any fields in the world. These are standalone systems which are powered by solar energy and are measuring the environmental parameters, which can be temperature, humidity, rainfall, leaf wetness, and also insect pressure. Technology like soil moisture are done with these systems. The problem is always existing since we grow plants. We have to protect them against insects, against fungal diseases, but with technology, we are able to minimize this and reduce that risk. When we started, the first one had a small CPU and had a printer, and the farmer had to go out and take out the readings and come back and apply it. Now the farmer receives all this information ahead of the problem can happen on his mobile phone and can act much faster. So in terms of return of investment for these systems, this is out of question. We can avoid using too much pesticides, too much water, too much fertilizer, and having the same crop with less input. This year was a particular bad year for the apple grower here in that area. So they got a big freeze. Most of the farmers who didn't use this technology were not able to have any crop. Those growers who were using our systems were able to have a full harvest. Huawei can provide us the connectivity worldwide. Especially with this new narrowband IoT, we see a lot of opportunities which are completely untouched so far, so that we can connect basically every individual orchard or field to the world. Better connected world for everybody means that we apply this technology to produce healthier food, to apply less chemicals, and also to have a sustainable world for everybody, and leave this world a better place when we are leaving that place.
Okay, thank you. So I will go ahead and take the screen back. So a little bit about Pessl Instruments, and as you could see on that video, Pessl Instruments, we are a global company based out of Graz, Austria, or right outside of Weitz. And essentially, the way that we operate, we've got stations that span across 100 countries, and kind of the way that we operate domestically is under the name MetosUSA. So for instance, there's a Metos Canada, there's a Metos Mexico, Metos Poland, and so on and so forth. So each of our business operations and each individual company all kind of fly under the Metos banner. So Pessl Instruments has been around for more than 35 years, both developing the software and the hardware solutions that can go out into fields to help growers to return their ROI or to increase their return on investment. Our online platform, Field Climate, can be used for various industries from agriculture. I mean, we're big in research, hydrology, meteorology, flood warnings. There's a lot more research that we're doing that I can get into a little bit later or in the questions sections. But essentially, we've got over 50,000 stations that are up worldwide, spanning across over 100 countries. And you can see here's a picture of our team. We're a fairly small team. On a global standpoint for a company of this magnitude. So to talk a little bit about MetosUSA is we're the United States affiliate for Pessl Instruments. We've been around operating since January of 2014. We're based out of, we have just last year set up a manufacturing facility or assembly facility in Sacramento, California, where our general manager, Petru, and our production manager, Octavio, work every day, and we're striving to, we're pushing to have all of our stations assembled in the United States. So well, from there, everything is completely customizable depending on what you're trying to measure in the field, and it's completely assembled right here in the United States. Other regional offices would be, we've got Phil in Ogden, Utah. Myself, I live here in Gretna, Nebraska. And then Marcos, who's our agronomist and irrigation specialist, lives down in Florida. So you can kind of see where we cover. I can make this slide available for anybody in these different regions if you're wanting to reach out. So I included Guy Ash in here. He's both our global training leader for Pestle Instruments, and he runs the Metos Canada team up north. So when we talk about digital farm support, and I know that we get, as somebody who both farms themselves and works for MetosUSA, I kind of see it on both ends, but there's just this inundation of data available out there. So one of our main goals is how do we take this information, this raw information? I mean, because there are a multitude of companies that sell, simply weather stations, but how do you take it the next step farther and actually take the data that you're getting from these devices and turn it into an actionable decision? So when we look at it has to be a holistic approach. It has to be something where you're not just focusing on one factor, whether it's crop health management, insect monitoring, water management, the future of irrigation and automation, topsoil mapping, weather monitoring, anything that you're doing. How do we tie all that together and make it something that a grower can use in their day-to-day lives to actually help impact decisions that help impact bottom line? So we offer our full line of both hardware and software. So for hardware, we've got, weather stations, in-field telemetry units for moisture probes, artificially intelligent equipped cameras and insect traps, tank and water level monitoring solutions, object trackers, and mobile soil laboratories, which our mobile lab has been kind of refurbished for this season. The really nice thing, or the interesting thing, is all of our solutions operate on a wide variety of communication signals. So whether that's LTE, you heard Godfried mention NB-IoT or narrowband IoT signals, or the new ones coming up like LoRa equipped stations. So we've got, depending on what your location is, the main point in having all these solutions is to battle the big issue of how do we get around the fact that there's not connectivity across most of the rural country. So NB-IoT solutions, LoRa solutions help us to offer solutions in an area where there might not be a very reliable cell phone signal, or there might not be a reliable internet signal, but those growers still need to have the opportunity to have equipment out there that's sending them up to the minute information. So for our software platform, we've got it's kind of designed in mind for both growers and, say an agronomist or a crop advisor to utilize to make recommendations to their customers. Both available on a website and desktop app versions. We've got the Field Climate cloud-based platform, so that's kind of like our central hub for everything that we do. Within there, we've got soil moisture monitoring and irrigation planning through our FarmWorks module, workflow planning, weather forecasting, animal welfare planning. We can offer a wide range of virtual weather station options, disease modeling, and then kind of the most intriguing thing for, let's say, for an agronomist or for a company is API web services. So if you are wanting to offer this kind of a solution to your customer, but you're wanting that to come through your website, or you're wanting the information delivery to be through your brand, we can work with our API team and make sure that the information translates well onto your website for however you choose to display that to the customer. So I talked a little bit about infrastructure in terms of communication, where we've got obviously big data storage, a wide range of connectivity between wired, wireless, long range, wireless, short range, and wireless LP WAN. The new things here, like we'd mentioned, would be like Cat M1 or LTE-M signal for, just an increased reach out into a lot of these rural areas. LoRa is another big one where it's been around for a while, but now we're starting to see more companies make the investment, and there's really been a push in recent years for bringing rural connectivity, kind of the issue of rural connectivity, to the forefront. So we've got a couple of strategic partners throughout different parts of the world, and specifically in the United States, that are establishing these networks that we can hook up full weather stations that can transmit off of LoRa signals, which there are not many platforms that have the ability to, a lot of them can do maybe just soil moisture or maybe just rainfall, but we're working through working through all of the issues to make sure that we have, and we do actually have it currently, a station that can deliver full weather station information through a LoRa device. So being able to track things like evapotranspiration and delta T for higher decision making. So just a quick look at some of our hardware. Our kind of our flagship weather station would be called the Metos 3.3, the iMetos 3.3. So you can see we've got a multiple array of different sensors that can be connected to these, but right here we can see the leaf wetness module, the soil, wind, and direction, air temperature and humidity, solar radiation, and this one has also has a water cup on it as well. When we talk in the NB-IoT solutions or the LoRa, they're more of these, depending on what you're fully needing, but the housing from the iMetos Eco D3 with just a little bit more. Essentially, it depends on where and what your communication signal is like. You know, we can kind of look at both broadband coverage maps or do trial and error if you know that you're in an area where connection can be and find the solution that fits best for you to make sure that you've got a reliable flow of information. So a lot of these can be available through different communication types, but these are kind of the main styles of hardware we have. Where object trackers, which I know we've got both active and object trackers that are being tested and in beta. The object trackers should be coming soon, but the difference would be like if you wanted to have something hooked up to, say, a fertilizer tank or a seed tender or something that a customer would take off of your property and use for a couple of days, and you wanted to have eyes on where it's at, or be able to know when it's been sitting for a while and can come back. Our mobile laboratory can take soil samples and tree and plant sap samples and give you results for nitrogen and micronutrients within the soil right when you're out in the field. iScout pheromone traps. We have 4 different variations of insect trap monitoring that you can have. This is kind of one of the more popular ones in my region would be the pheromone trap. So up in the housing here, you'll see there's a 10 megapixel camera that can take pictures down at the pheromone sticky pad that you set in here. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the interesting technology that drives that. And then our crop view dual, which you see it's got both a wide and a wide angle and a zoom lens for focusing in on plant tissue on the zoom lens if you're wanting to use that for maybe identifying potential diseases that are growing on the leaf tissue. There's some software built in for, specifically say apples, where it can measure the color and the size, the diameter of that apple to give you an idea of when you can be harvesting that. So when we talk about all of these solutions and we talk about the hardware and the software, and obviously you'll have your main hub on the website where you can see just the raw information. But where we want to take it the step further is not only showing you the raw data, but helping you to put it into a format where it's something that you can actually use. So we talk a lot about site-specific forecasting, and a lot of times, like if you were to download, say, WeatherBug app on your phone and input your zip code or your GPS coordinates, 9 times out of 10, that weather station will reroute you to your closest nearest NOAA registered weather station. So for me here in Gretna, it would send me to the Millard Airport, which is, I think, as the crow flies, probably about 9 miles. And then everybody that works in ag knows that, especially things like rain can be a lot more centrally focused. They're not so widespread. So I could get a different amount of rain than somebody 2 miles down the road gets for me. So when we put these stations up and you start to reference your forecasting, these stations are acting as the central hub for where that forecast is being transmitted to. So that's a site-specific forecast. The company we partner with is a Swiss-based company called MetosUSA, where they're using a multi-model approach. So they're not just using the NOAA weather model. They're using different, I think, 17 different weather models from around the world to get a lot more accurate of a predictor of where things are going to happen. And then your actual station on the ground is impacting that weather forecast. So if we're waiting for a specific weather event, and let's say the temperature doesn't drop or the humidity doesn't drop and it doesn't cause that rainstorm, your station in the field is going to be pushing that forecast, and the process is called nudging and tuning. So it's continually ground truthing what the current conditions are and updating the forecast on an hourly basis. So this process really builds the basis for a lot of the predictive planning tools that we have. So, and you can kind of see here illustrated. So our Meteo Blue weather model plus the actual station observing, collecting data, nudging and tuning that forecast so that it's more accurate for your specific location, not just your zip code or not just your region, equals a site-specific weather forecasting option. So when I say work planning and how we develop these modules is what are things that have to be done out in the field, and how do we give you kind of a predictive window as to when are you going to be able to do it with the most accuracy. So you can kind of see our dashboard over here on the left and a multitude of different buttons that we'll kind of go through. But the one I want to focus on here would be plant protection. So spraying, because anybody that sprays knows that there are a lot of factors that you have to bring into consideration. You can't, some guys will just look at the wind. Some guys will look at the temperature. What our predictive system uses is it combines all of the factors. So it's looking at what does the humidity look like for the week ahead? What does the wind speed look like? What is the delta T? The air temperature and the precipitation forecast to build you a comprehensive model of, so a grower could effectively sit down on a Sunday night and say, I want to look at the next week ahead of me, so I know when are the best hours of each day to go out and actually spray, so that I can have maximum kill on whatever it is that I'm spraying. So if it's a pesticide or a herbicide, insecticide or a herbicide, the goal is to not have to go out and spray twice. So if you base your plan off of when your chemical or when your product should have the maximum efficacy out in the field, it helps save time. It helps save the potential for resprays. And at the end of the day, helps to make sure that you're getting the maximum from the products that you're putting out there. The big one and it's kind of a new concept that, I talk a lot about is delta T. So delta T is a range, and I kind of have a slide here from Tom Wolf, who's got his PhD in agronomy. And I will post, when this video or when we get done here, I'll post some links to this. He's got a very good article with kind of an audible explanation of why delta T is, but I'll just go ahead and read it through. So humidity is very important in spraying, with the average tank pesticide being 90 to 99% water. Evaporation plays a very important role, both in droplet size and active ingredient concentration. Low humidity causes droplets to evaporate faster, potentially increasing drift, reducing uptake, but the relative humidity is not always the best way to measure this effect. Instead, and I believe that the concept and the measurement started in Australia, but we present to you delta T, which is known as wet bulb depression. So delta T is an atmospheric moisture parameter when used to make spraying decisions. It's defined as the dry bulb temperature minus the wet bulb temperature. Provides a better indication of the water evaporation rate than just straight relative humidity will. So the higher the delta T, the higher the evaporation of whatever you're spraying. So a lot of airplanes that are applying aerial fungicides will go off of delta T because they've got a lot more risk of evaporation when they're flying above and dropping the chemical down on the crop. So we put together this range, and kind of the optimal range is, the delta T score would be kind of between 2 and 8. So with our systems, you can go in and set your parameters where I want to get a text message alert when the delta T is above 8. So you could be out spraying, you get a text message from your station saying recorded delta T is above 8. As a grower, it's either time to stop spraying for the day or possibly increase your gallonage that you're spraying, go from 10 to 15 or 15 to 20, or look at changing the nozzle size on your sprayer, so you can just make sure that you're getting a good coverage and you're not running that high risk of evaporation before that chemical can actually do its job and target the pest that you're after. The next part of this is so work planning. So with a lot of the IoT devices, and I think particularly the Metos iMetos D3 that you saw, the one from earlier that was kind of sticking out of the top of the corn. A lot of times those are used to plug into a soil moisture monitor, a soil moisture probe. So we have compatibility with a wide range of probes. We're using Centec drop-in drill probes. We've got compatibility with John Deere Field Connect probes. We can use AquaCheck probes, Decagon probes. We've got some proprietary ones that we work with, Watermark, kind of depending on whatever you currently have. We can link into those and help you to build an adaptive root zone water balance table. So you can kind of see as the time goes on. And the biggest thing that as I talk to growers throughout that are trying to manage their irrigation better, is you can put a 3-foot probe in the ground and it might have, let's say, 9 sensors on it. really the only sensors that you should be using to make a decision off of are the sensors that are within the current root zone of that plant. So that root zone changes throughout the season, but right away at the beginning, for probably the first month or two of that crop growing in the field, you're only needing to worry about maybe the top 3 sensors. So when you're building your irrigation modeling, you only want to worry about the sensors that where the roots are showing to be taking water in from the soil. So as you build your water budget table, we've got, like here in the United States, our agronomist Marcos can sit down and with you or myself or Petru or any of us and help to train both dealers and growers on how to effectively build this so that you're not making sure you're not overwatering throughout the course of the year. Building on the work planning, this is kind of our harvest window. So the one thing it doesn't matter, sometimes crops can be kind of regionalized or localized where, but the one thing that's consistent across the entire country from north to south, east to west, up into Canada is the production of hay for cattle. So this tool here, and you can see we've got a harvest window predictor for both fruit, grape, sugar beets, sweet potatoes, small cereal grains. The one that's showing here is hay and silage preparation. So again, same concept as the plant protection. This is giving you a week ahead look at when are my conditions optimal to harvesting or to cutting my wheat, so that I don't run any risk of maybe getting it getting wet before I have a chance to rake it and bale it. Taking that same notion and moving over to animal welfare. The way this is laid out, so it's broken up between dairy stress and poultry stress. So when we show this graph on dairy and cattle, and what this is showing is at what hours of which day in the next week are the environmental conditions present for my cattle to have a high stress level from being left outside. So you can see the green color would be a no stress environment. The deep red color over here would be an environment where, if left unchecked, any livestock that are outside during some of these heat waves or really radical weather events, what's the likelihood that weather event could cause the actual death of my cattle if left unchecked? So I know extreme heat might play a role in how much you're deciding to feed, what you're deciding to feed, where your water, how much you're deciding to water. It might trigger a guy to go out and maybe install some more shade covers for his cattle, or just it allows the grower to be aware of, all right, when do I have a problem, or when could I potentially have a problem? So even if they've got to make sure somebody else is around to keep an extra eye on the cattle and make sure that they're not acting strange, or identifying the warning signs before you're actually dealing with dead livestock. The last part of this would be kind of our disease modeling. So I'm showing one for corn, and we've got, I think, over 40 crops. I think 42 crops, ranging from, infield fruits and vegetables, citrus crops, corn, soybeans, wheat, kind of whatever. And most of the crops that are grown around the world, most of the large scale crops that are grown around the world, we've got a disease model for. So what this is showing you is at what point throughout the growing season was the environment conducive for this specific pathogen or this specific disease to grow or to inflame. So you can see on the red chart there, what is my risk percentage for, in this case, it's gray leaf spot here over the last couple of weeks, or the last 30 days, I guess, is what it's showing here. So again, you can set an alert in your phone to maybe text you when you hit an upper threshold. So maybe text me when I reach a 75% risk factor for gray leaf spot. So you'll get a text from that station. It'll say the station name, which hopefully you name it the field name. And then that kind of can spur the grower to maybe have a conversation with his seed dealer and say, look, what do I have planted out here? What is the score, or what is the score for gray leaf spot? You know exactly what you're looking for when you're going out to the field. And perhaps you go through a season and this risk chart was way lower than you anticipated, and you can use that to make base your decision whether or not to spend the extra money on fungicide that season. So it's mainly meant to be a resource for growers to just understand the risk that you have out there based off of what the weather conditions have been. The whole model on this, the connected farm. So the more accessibility you have to information, not just, I guess I shouldn't say not just accessibility, but the more accessibility and understanding that you have, the less risk that your farm is present with. So we try to provide, real-time alerts that can help you make decisions on seeding, field accessibility, spraying conditions, workforce management, irrigation, so that you can react on time, because the better management at the end of the day is going to lead to a less risk for you, and less risk will lead to higher return on investment. So we talked a little bit about some of our weather stations and field monitoring stations. These are kind of more of our IoT field solutions in terms of the cameras that we have out. So you can see these are both in orchards set up. And as you kind of watch this middle picture, you can see the different boxes that are sitting around here, where the green boxes are indicating that, and this is an AI technology built into the camera software. So it's actually measuring diameter based off of distance from the actual fruit. So it can give you a predictor on when will it be time to go out and harvest, when so that you can make sure you're picking your apples in this case at the best time for peak freshness. On a more of a crop, large scale crop use over here on the left, you can see the difference between the zoomed in camera and the panorama camera. Where we're seeing a big interest in this is on plot side by sides for hybrid performance. If you're wanting to see time lapse videos of the different hybrids and how they're reacting to the weather throughout the season, instead of just on the day that you happen to be out there looking at it, you can set one of these up and kind of angle it in a way where you're getting a close enough view to detect if you're seeing any kind of disease or damage on that leaf tissue. And then the panoramic view would give you a better idea of just how are these hybrids looking kind of in comparison with each other. So we actually have a program called Power Your Plots that's specifically for seed dealers, if they're interested and they want to set up some environmental monitoring for their plot systems, just to kind of keep an eye on it and give growers kind of an interesting look at every stage of crop development throughout the season instead of just one. So I've got a couple of videos here. This one is the cornfield that we saw in the pictures above. And just to kind of give you an idea, I believe this camera is set to take one picture a day, depending on, we have a couple of different levels. If you're wanting a couple more pictures, then it essentially just means a bigger data package that you need. But I'll go ahead and let this kind of play through. One thing I noticed watching this is it's amazing to actually visualize how much the corn grows every single day.
Hey, Derek, I think we lost you there, but you're back.
All right. Yeah, I saw that quick little blip there. So you lost in the middle of that video?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will just kind of.
Yeah, that's good. I know there's storms happening all over today, and there's the second time somebody got cut out because of a storm. I'm not sure if that was yours or in your area too, but
I don't think so. I know it's hot, and it's been kind of hazy. I drove across Nebraska yesterday, and it was just hazy. I think from the smoke from the wildfires in California is what I've been hearing. But it was actually really bizarre. It just kind of looked like a haze almost all day.
oh wow.
So moving on, you saw those time lapse that we're building. So when we move on to the actual IoT field solutions for the bug or the insect traps, one thing to notice on here is you can see the different types of, so there's a thick green barrier around this bug, where this one has a thin green barrier. So what this is showing us is the thick green border means that this is a classified.
Looks like we lost him again. We'll just wait for him to get back on here.
Bug. So you have both you as a grower and as pests or that you want to track calculated and measured, and the thin green box is showing what are the new bugs that appear.
Just wait for him to get back here again.
Yeah, I lose you.
Yep, you're back again. Here's the one problem about doing it live, right?
Exactly.
We
We're
can make that
getting
happen, but
getting kind of closer to the end, so I will go.
sounds good. Yeah,
All right.
it's such an interesting product. It's intriguing seeing all of the information that's available at a a farmer's fingertips all the time. That could be. It's really fascinating.
Absolutely, and like the biggest problem that I see, as both inside and out of the industry, is that there's a lot of really helpful data collection tools that are available, but how do we turn that data into something that is actionable for a grower to sit down and say, okay, this is when I hit here, it's going to strike a decision to make me do something, or cause a decision to either happen or not happen on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was kind of wrapping up there with the bugs, the green one means that it's been photoed before. The thin green box means that it's a new bug, and then the orange box actually is a user classification. So there's two components to this AI software. One is just our large database of bugs, and I can provide a list. I mean, there are hundreds of insects that we have registered that we're tracking and differentiating from. But if you have something specifically that you're trying to see, you can go in and actually select all of the different unique bugs that, like, so I believe this one's a fruit fly. You can go in and select all the occurrences, and then our system will then take over and start identifying that going forward. So when these stations first go out, there's a little bit of involvement with the grower to just kind of kickstart the process. But the longer the station is out into a field, the smarter it will get, and it will continue to maintain that. I touched a little bit on the object and active trackers. So our object trackers are in beta right now. They're coming soon, but they're more for for co-op to set on their anhydrous tanks. Something that implements on your field, seed tender, something where it's leaving your field. It doesn't have an engine on it, but you still want to be able to keep track of where it's at. Our active trackers, they would actually plug into. You can either plug them into a cigarette lighter in your car or tractor, or they could hardwire them straight to the battery. So a lot of times, and this is kind of the use case that I've heard the most often is, semi trucks and grain hauling around harvest time. So the combine operator, instead of making phone calls as guys are hopping in and out of the trucks, getting weighed, getting emptied at the elevator or at the bin site, they can just open up their app, see exactly where that truck is, see if it's en route back to the field, so they know if they can go ahead and start making another pass or not. Or obviously anybody out there that's got teenagers that want to keep an eye on where their kids are driving to, you could always throw this in a car to track both speed limit, how fast they're driving, and where they're going.
Yeah.
The mobile
employees,
app,
right?
employees, absolutely. The mobile lab is a laboratory precision tool for total nitrogen in the soil. So you can actually do soil samples to collect nitrate, nitrogen, and ammonia, NH4 from the soil. There's many other every sample, the nice thing, every sample that you take. So if you're wanting to do 3 or 4 samples out in the middle of the field, you can actually geo-reference that to where your sample to wherever it was pulled from the field. And to avoid, the main goal obviously is avoid under fertilization and avoid over fertilization. Kind of make sure that your crops are sitting in that sweet spot throughout the season. The different segments that we play in. So as both MetosUSA and Pestle Instruments, we're obviously heavily involved in agriculture and the crop side and the livestock side. Some big initiatives going for us going forward as a company are, applications for this in golf courses and an initiative we call Smart Cities. So the city of Zurich, Switzerland, and I believe the number is 170. We have actually 170 LoRa-based devices that are collecting temperature and rainfall. They're just mounted on light poles throughout the entire city. And what they're trying to collect is what are the temperature variances throughout, more populated areas through the city. They're tracking rainfall as it pertains to, potential sewage issues going forward. So there is both agricultural and, golf course and city applications for a lot of these things. And we are an original equipment manufacturer. So depending on the scale of your project or what it is you're trying to do, we have many, many customizable options for you. So anything that you're wanting to offer to your customers, one thing I didn't mention on the livestock is we have units that can go inside, say like hog confinements or inside chicken barns that are just continually tracking the environment in there. So I was talking to a guy the other day that's a big poultry grower, and he's like, it would be nice to know right away if I'm having a temperature problem inside one of my chicken barns, so that it's not the next day I get out there or the next time somebody sees it, then I'm potentially faced with a dozen dead or hundreds of dead chicks based because it just maybe got too hot in there. So everything that's out there, you can set alerts on the high side, the low side. If you're wanting to send wind alerts, temperature alerts, if you're wanting to just get a text message if it rains more than an inch. Just so you can kind of have that peace of mind. A lot of our software is built to be more proactive instead of reactive. So you don't have to wait until you just check the website. You can set up parameters so that you get notified anytime any of these major weather events happen, and it can be completely customizable. So like for a dealer aspect, if you're an agronomist and you want all of your customers to get this, you can set up different and unique alerts for each customer. The last couple of things are just our, digital dealer e-learning. We've got a new course here. Our guy Ash up in Canada has worked really hard.
We don't hear sound on this one. Is there sound on it, or is it just reading?
It's just a song, but it's not that
Okay.
It's not that important. So I'll just say, there's Guy right there. He's worked really hard over the last couple of months to create our e-learning platform. So this is available both for customers and for dealers, so that you have a technical understanding of what this software can do, what the hardware can do, and how to maintenance it, how to make recommendations for customers, how to understand how to set it up. So it's been a really big benefit for us on that aspect. And then we also have a YouTube channel where we're getting a lot more active at posting just use case videos, posting interesting, like how to set one up. Once you get it out of a box, how do you make sure that it's working, and other stuff like that. So
very good.
And that is all I have for you today.
A lot of information. We have a few questions here.
Okay.
Okay, here's the first question: is how difficult is the installation process?
It's not very difficult at all. Basically, the way that we're in the MetosUSA, we're kind of shifting towards more of a turnkey type of a setup, where you tell us what kind of a station you want. We get it assembled with all the proper sensors, and then you can see, right here, everything comes already plugged in. You basically take this cover off and plug the battery in. And we've got some, if there's ever any maintenance, there's some computer software where you just plug a USB cable straight from this station into your computer. And we've got walkthrough guides. some standard practices, but the actual physical installation, all you really need is a straight pole and a steady eye with a post pounder.
Right. Sometimes that's hard though.
Absolutely.
Do you help your customers get set up? That's the next question.
Yep. So we've got the way that we're structured right now is we have a dealer network where it's kind of a chain of both agronomy retail locations and John Deere dealers that have chosen to kind of go into this with us. So we can provide, on-site support if it's something that you're wanting. This year was, definitely tricky because just for the simple fact of when a lot of these stations were going up, there was travel restrictions. So we did a lot more e-learning than I would have personally felt comfortable with on this particular year. But going forward, if you're wanting, either myself or whoever the rep is from the area to be there to help you with installations, and we can definitely make something work to make sure that you have a full understanding of how things should be set up properly.
Great. Yeah. It does seem complicated, right? So I think that might be probably one of the challenges that you have to face is helping people feel more comfortable that it isn't that you'll be there to help with that setup process. So I think that's important. Yeah. The next question is, are there any grants or tax credits that you know of that would apply to this?
Yeah, so I actually had a meeting yesterday with the Nebraska Natural Resources District, and they do crop sharing with a lot of water management tools and softwares. So anytime, and I know there was a big push over the last couple of years, depending on your district, for guys to just put in, especially for irrigation, just to put in water management tools. And that usually involves a crop share. Every district is different in terms of percentage as to how much they'll pay, but I would just recommend to reach out to your local natural resources district, ask what they're offering, and if they need any information. We've had to do some things in the state of Nebraska to just get on a list to be an approved vendor for that, but we definitely can. There's a lot of really unique programs that are available for that. So absolutely.
That's great. Another question here. Is my data safe?
Absolutely. So like our data, all the information is stored on our internal servers. They're stored over in Austria. So I know that there's always the question of, well, how is the Monsantos of the world or the big companies, the Climates, the USDA, and I'm not saying that any of those companies actually do anything with data, because I don't believe they do, but there's always that question lingering in the air of who's all using this information. And our servers are completely secured, stored overseas. So oftentimes data regulations in the EU can be a lot more strict than they are elsewhere. So you can rest assured that there's nobody with any information to anything that you've got on your profile other than yourself. And if you choose to share this information with, like, say, a co-op that you work with, or vice versa, or a dealer, whoever's helping you to maintain your stations.
Right. Great. And one more question. What dealer can we contact in Canada?
So I will, and let me kind of push back here. So the easiest way to do is take down Guy Ash's information right here. Guy.ash at MetosUSA or at metos.at, and his phone number. Shoot him a quick email, let him know what location you're in, and do that. I mean, for anybody that's around, if you want to take down my information, Marcos, or Petru or Octavio, and just kind of say, all right, this is where I'm located. If you go to our website, MetosUSA.com, we have kind of a dealer locator function. So you can see who are the functioning dealers in your area, or you can call us, or if you are an agronomist or an ag service provider and you're looking to expand your services, then we can we're also trying to fill in some blank spots in our trade territory to make sure that all of the areas in these across the different states are covered. So if you have an interest in offering this type of solution to your customers, just reach out to one of us, and we'll make sure to either get you in contact with the right dealer or get you set up yourself.
That's awesome. Very good. Yeah, you covered a lot of information there.
Well, thank you so much for letting me come on here today. So
yeah, great. yeah, we'll make sure that the video is up on our site as well under the exhibitors and under demos and discussions. And we'll get them all shared to our social media too. And
All right. Yeah. And I would say, visit, metos.usa.com. Our handle on most social media, I believe on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram is just at MetosUSA. Or overseas, like it's usually if you're in the UK, it's usually at Metos UK, or at, I think our Australian counterparts are Metos ANZ, Australia, New Zealand. So
great. All right, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I learned a lot.
well, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, everybody. Have a safe harvest out there.